Okay, good evening, Pahrump. This is Dr. Michael Reiner, your host of the Independent Medical Group and the Independent Doctors at Pahrump. This is a live show, and we should, at the bottom of the screen, have the call-in number, 727-8750. And tonight, I have a guest, Gary Miller, and Gary is a certified personal trainer, and he has, we saw each other this weekend at a little event talking about nutritional events, nutritional items. It was a pro tandem issue. And as we started to talk after that show, we realized that we have a lot more in common with regards to some of the health and fitness issues that I've been discussing on this show ever since its inception. A lot of nutritional issues that we both agree on, a lot of issues about training, about exercising, and so I felt that it was appropriate to have someone who also was independent in this town, and a skill that I didn't even know he had, and that was nutritional. And then we started really getting into the medical aspects of fitness and training. And one of the things that I've noticed a lot is when we deal with a elderly population, and they have a lot of knee replacements and joint replacements, and we started noticing the failure rate that I see. Well, we have Ray the Flagman who's on. Ray, are you there?
Yes, I am, Doctor. How you doing tonight?
I'm good. How are you?
All right. Tell Gary I said hi.
How you doing, Ray?
Good man. Hey, I got 3 questions for you. That's why I didn't want to tell the operator, because it might get a little confusing. First of all, it's my understanding that cinnamon on a regular basis for 40 days, 1/4 teaspoon a day, will reduce blood sugar by 30%. That's my first question. The second question is, are people aware that there's a substitute for the oxys? When they're hooked on oxy, Suboxone is an alternate, and they can be weaned off of these oxys, and oxys are really horrible. And the third question is, what is the procedure on a medical use card as far as an office visit? Do you have the applications there? Do you take the fingerprints and the photograph, or what is all that involved?
Okay, so let's go through each of your questions. Last one first,
okay,
which is the medical marijuana card. You have to get the application from the state, and that's at the Attorney General's office. There's a form to fill out, and they mail you the application. At that point, you fill out what you're going to fill out, and then there's a sheet of paper that the medical professional, fills out that certifies that you have a condition that will be helped by the use of marijuana. It could be chronic pain, chronic seizures, it could be multiple sclerosis, it can be a variety of issues. The state really doesn't care what the issue is, as long as I certify that it will be helped by marijuana. Then you mail that form into the state, and then they approve it, and then they tell you to go to the DMV, which is in Las Vegas. They give you a list of locations, and then you go down and you get a driver's license card, which basically is not your driver's license, but is a card that allows you to be able to grow marijuana. Now, I don't know what the dispensary issues are in the state. Last time I heard, it was tied up, so I think at this point it's still a grower issue. And then there's also a letter that I can write, or some practitioners can write, that allows you a waiver in the amount of plants if you're using edibles. So that's what I know. That fee is different for every practitioner, and you can call our office and get that fee. I know we're well under what the doctors in Las Vegas, and I think some of the offices in town just stay away from it and don't want anything to do with it, but I have no problem in doing that as long as you have a reasonable condition that warrants the use of that product. Your other question regarding, let's see, was cinnamon was the first question. And with regards to blood sugar, that's in a Journal of Irreproducible Results. You might know something about that, Gary. When you talked about nutrition,
Cinnamon is exceptionally good for you, Ray. I use cinnamon every day, but I use it in the way, because what cinnamon does is it helps with inflammatories. Okay, when you breathe oxygenated air, or the air that we breathe oxygenates our blood, it also creates free radicals. Some foods that you eat create free radicals. They create inflation in your body. Cinnamon is extremely good, as well as turmeric, at removing and getting rid of inflammation, which is what causes pain to a lot of degree in joints and muscles and other areas of your body. And that's what I use it for. As far as blood sugar, I really couldn't say on a personal level because I've never had a blood sugar problem.
You're too healthy. Okay, so and then the other question was about the oxycodone Suboxone issue. Suboxone is a registered agent that can be used to help people get off of the addiction of oxycodone. And you have to be certified to be able to use Suboxone. I think, as far as I know, Dr. Andraki over at Healthcare Partners is one of the only physicians I know in town who's certified to use that. Certainly, you have to have the desire to get off that prescription. And then, if you are one of these people who are unfortunately hooked on painkillers, you can wean down off of that under supervisory. And if you need to see somebody regarding that, then I would suggest you make an appointment with Dr. Andraki over at Healthcare Partners, who supposedly is certified to use that. Does that answer your question?
I sat through suicide watches where people were ready to whack themselves because they were hooked on the oxys. And some of these got with a doctor in Vegas and got on Suboxone, and they were able to wean off the oxys, and they thank God for that opportunity. But believe me, when you sit on a suicide watch with somebody that's going through withdrawals and they want to kill themselves, it's terrifying. It really is.
Well, it's a very dangerous drug, and you've hit on a very good point on that. And when they started to crack down on the amount of oxycodone being freely given through the pharmacies, and I know that's a bad term, but when all of a sudden they started to reduce when they started to pay attention, we went through a transition period in this town where you could get anything you want. It would be written by anybody. Nobody asked any questions. 300 oxy IR30s, and then all of a sudden we have this pill mill sting in Florida, and everybody tightens up. And what I saw was people running from oxycodone, smoking it, going to heroin. So it just goes back to the same thing. When you're a drug addict, the definition of addiction is basically doing something despite the negative consequence of the action. If you want to get high, if you want to get loaded, you're going to find a way to do that. It's so unfortunate, but thank God for you if you're doing suicide watch and people out there, they haven't had to take that route. But I can say there are three things that happen with addiction. You get incarcerated, you go insane, or you die. Or you get help, and hopefully you choose the fourth option. So thanks for calling in, Ray.
Many people are familiar with negative consequences. They always say consequences, but these are negative consequences to a lot of this stuff.
Absolutely.
I want to thank you. You have a very good show, and I enjoy watching you every Monday night. Just keep up the good work. Keep the faith.
Absolutely. Thanks for calling in. We appreciate your questions. They're always very good. So we have about 3 minutes left before we're going to go on break, and but very interesting topics, and certainly I think turmeric is really good for anti-inflammatory. I think cinnamon. There's probably a lot of herbs out there and that was one of the discussions that we had, which was there are a lot of things that are out there that we think are good for us, but and they are good, but they've actually polluted the amount that they get, that we get in there.
Yeah,
so.
There's been reports in my research, because I'm researching food additives and things all the time, just so the public knows. I'm 64 years old.
We're going to go to, I interrupt you because we're going to go to break.
Okay.
And then when we come back, you can tell everybody about that. Thank you for tuning in tonight. It's going to be a good show. Thank you.